of money creation at the moment. That's wrong. The banks have very centralised power. If you take the Federal Reserve, that's very narrowly held. The exercise through the Bank of England, Mark Carney is an ex-Goldman Sachs. Basically, the banking empire is homogenous. And basically, that's where the power lies. And to answer the question about what do we do about where does the basic income go when people have got it in their pocket, we have to address the power of the banks and the private collection of land rents and resource rents at the same time. But I agree with everything else you said.
I mean, this makes perfect sense to me. Sorry, this makes perfect sense to me. The basic income, the monetary reform, and so on. But in this country, we've got a government and a previous government who managed to convince the people that the Iraq War was a good idea, the privatising of our industries was a good idea, and then get re-elected. And it kind of feels like we're really outside, shouting in a very small voice that's not being listened to. And you're kind of people who talk about these issues and campaign on these issues. And I was just interested in your thoughts on who has power is actually listening. Where's our in? Where's our chance of actually raising the profile of these things and getting somebody to take notice who can actually do something about it?
May I answer that? I just wanted to extend this kind of conversation you two were having-ish about you kind of putting forward the basic income as a reformist agenda, so anti-revolutionary to an extent?
Reformist in the sense that you need to have we're messing around with the lowest ceiling, but we're not actually necessarily tackling the highest ceiling. So the gap between the basic income and the ceiling going up into the megasphere of people whose incomes are just spiralling out of control, and at the same time you get quantitative easing endlessly producing this thing called money, which is a finite resource. Where does it all end?
Okay, perhaps your point was slightly different to what I thought it was. I suppose my point would be that it's reformist in the sense that it's helping people within the system at the moment, but I think the basic income, as you were kind of saying, really undermines the capitalist paradigm because you're not trading your labour for a wage or for a value anymore. You're not selling yourself. You're getting an income because you're a human being and you deserve it. And that I find really revolutionary in itself, whilst helping a load of people at the same time. So I think it's really good, I suppose.
George, is it? Yeah. Do you want? Oh, no, it's fine actually. I was just going to say the thing about basic income. Obviously, I think it's an amazing idea, but it's I guess nobody. I imagine fairly strongly nobody there is saying it's the silver bullet. We have a basic income, then everything else will be fine. You can have a basic income, and if we had the kind of context where we could have basic income, we would certainly have the kind of context where we could have seriously progressive taxation, like Miliband's pre-distribution term, I don't want to kind of go with, but the idea, challenging the idea that what people are paid by a kind of rigged market system is somehow kind of some objective reflection of the value of their work, and as if they actually morally deserve it, that really has to be challenged. It's an absurd system that says that one person can get 380 times as much money as another person in that company that's also part of making it profitable. But I think, just very quickly coming back to this gentleman here, I think on the one hand this is a totally sort of propagandised neoliberalised nation, but on the other a lot of opinion polls show that significant majorities, despite all that propaganda, want renationalisation of services. A majority of UKIP voters believe in rent and price controls in the right circumstances. I think that there's a lot of kind of cognitive dissonance that at the moment kind of works with the propaganda system, but I think what everything we're doing is about is getting to that tipping point of kind of public awareness of the things that people already believe in that are progressive, that you can actually shift that dissonance in our favour.
I was just going to ask the panel about, in relation to what the gentleman here mentioned about how we're being fed the benefits of privatisation when everybody actually looks at it and thinks it's a disaster. But there's an emerging sort of trend in behavioural economics where people are talking about how there's a huge impact of tiny incremental effects on people's consciousness that can distract them from even the ability to make a benefits appointment on time, because they've had another benefit cut that's completely dominates the capacity to function and to think rationally. So I've come across a little bit about it, but not a lot, and I'd like to explore a bit more. But are you aware of how that might be applied, or maybe applied?
Yeah. Just to